Today's episode brought to you by Zero.
Dang.
Beautiful accounting. Zero is not going to be happy about this ad read, and I'm going to get a call from my partner manager too. They're going to be like, Michael, you need to calm the hell down, not screw up our advertising. Zero wants to sponsor my entire life. I'll be like a NASCAR driver, or just wear Zero swag all the time and be like, best accounting software. Like
The Clockwork AIAD. Take 2.
Clockwork.
Take 3, actually.
Take 8.
Let's go.
This
reading
episode of the Sons of CPAs podcast is sponsored by Clockwork, the most refreshing FP&A platform for QuickBooks Online and Zero companies.
Ackerman with the acronyms. Why do you say FP&A? Can you please?
I don't know what it means.
Financial planning and analysis.
Sounds like
now,
something
a lot
I do.
of us accountants. Sounds like a lot of us accountants hear the words FP&A, and we honestly have no idea.
Clockwork makes financial modeling easy. Automatically and within minutes, Clockwork creates custom AI powered by financial projections, cash flow forecasts, dashboards, scenario planning, and one-click driver-based forecasting for near immediate value. Tasks that used to take days or weeks with other tools take minutes with Clockwork. On top of that, hourly updates out of QuickBooks Online and Zero make sure you never have to manually update another actual again. And we have a special offer? Do we have it?
Yes, we have a call to action here.
Call to action,
Here's
baby.
the special offer from Clockwork AI. You can't
lose.
Go to Clockwork AI. They have some new branding. It's fresh. They got some purple in there too. I love the colors. Start a free trial.
You're a branding guru. Like your colors, branding. I love it.
Colors, numbers, and sometimes letters. Start a free trial, and if it takes longer than 5 minutes to get your automatic forecasts, they'll give you $100. That is a Benjamin from Clockwork.
Or 8.7 million rubles.
That's Clockwork AI. Clockwork.ai. Check out the website. I do love their branding.
Clockwork.
I think that I'm going to put a watch on the anatomy of a firm and have the watch represent Clockwork. Ackerman signing off.
Clockwork, baby.
accountants love accounting jokes they've never heard before, right? Or it's like weird accountant things. Like, for example,
hello and welcome. We are all the Sons of CPAs. Join us as we question the current state of the accounting and tax industry with the next generation of professionals leading this space. We are all the change agents in an industry fraught with money and inertia. Let's begin the Sons of CPAs with your hosts today, Zachary Call and Scott Scarano. Our guest today is another son of a CPA.
Yep.
Michael Eckstein Jr.
Not Junior. My dad's name is Ben, but so close. That would have been a good intro.
Awesome if I'd nailed it, but no. Michael.
Yes.
Do you go by Mike or Michael?
Whichever works. Michael.
Zachary,
we'll call him Michael.
We're gonna say Michael, Zachary.
Michael.
We can call him Mikey.
I'm not going with Mikey. That's not
Perfect.
It's not the mood I'm in today. Not feeling that froggy today. I have not gotten high either. This is before 4:20. I'm making sure that I'm not smoking before 4:20 and after 7, I think is the timeline. So I only have a brief window these days.
So professional.
I think since the last time I've talked to you, Michael, you've done a lot of new things too. You've been inducted into the Hall of Influencers.
Oh, yes. I am aiming to be a professional accounting, yapper. That's going to be my title. I'm just going to be one of those people who doesn't do much in the profession, but just talks about it. Right.
Well, if Zachary's not going to say it, I will. That's kind of what I do these days. I'm a professional yapper. I don't shut my mouth. You're doing it with the keys, too. You're typing it away. I'm just yapping.
Yes, I made the mistake of typing it, which in retrospect, as an accountant who didn't go to word school and went to math school, huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Would you say it's a mistake?
Grammar.
Is Grammarly these days? Do you have Grammarly?
I do. It does not help as much as it should. it like helps when I misspell certain words, but it can't tell me the difference between effect and effect. And like that's where I need it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's the ripple effects of that are tremendous. Like you'll go down a rabbit hole of writing effect the wrong way. I get it.
Right.
I get it.
And a
So
bunch of my readers are like editors and proofreaders and people that are good with words. And every now and then I get an email where they're like, by the way, you used that word wrong. And I was like,
they say it
wow.
out of love, though, right? They say it to help you out. I don't think they're
Yes.
really poking, like if they're doing it privately, unless they do it
Yes.
publicly and to shame people, you know.
Everyone's been polite about it, but my response is always, I'm functionally illiterate. I picked a math-based career. You have to expect me to be good with words.
So, Zachary, I don't know if you've heard this recently, but they've been calling me a toddler because I have a fascination with numbers, letters, and colors. That's where my head's at. I mean, I don't need anything much deeper because my kids are young, so I don't need to impress them. I don't have to do much to impress them. Let's get back on track here. So let's kind of start with the beginnings, the early stages. Your parents, or are they both numbers people? Is it just your dad? Like
Just my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's kind of weave this into the numbers conversation. Did you grow up knowing that you were going to be an accountant?
No, I was adamant I'd be something else. I actually originally went to college with the intent of being something else. I wanted to be a computer programmer. I took the most boring class of my life. That wasn't even on computer programming. It was about logic, but it was a requirement, and I hated every second of it. And I was like, I can't do this. We're going to do math. And then I became an accountant. I got tricked into this. I was like, it's been doing well for him. I guess I can do math my whole life. And that's how it happened.
It was a fallback?
Yeah. Except since everyone listening to this is an accountant, I don't want to hurt any feelings. No.
All right. So
Was always the plan. Great
It-
career.
I have a similar story. Like I didn't get pushed into programming. My mom tried to. She tried to have me take a lot of programming classes, and I just wasn't having it. It was too much for me. I rebelled against it. I knew I was going to be an accountant all my life, and then I totally rebelled against it. Didn't want to, and then eventually ended up doing it anyway. So I think there's a lot of honor and shame at the same time for me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
There's no shame. I love being an accountant. I think it suits me well. It probably suits you well. And our listeners probably know that it's safe. That's what I've said before too. This is a safe profession.
Stable.
Yeah. Zachary, what are your thoughts on being an accountant? You're also the son of a CPA.
I don't like the word safe. I think it's stable, but I think safe connotates like this notion of, oh, you're taking the easy route out, or you're taking the simple way. And being a good accountant, being a good business advisor is not simple or easy. And so I worry about that word safe as the connotation of it, but it's a great career and it's a stable career.
So if we weren't to use safe, what's a better phrase for me? Like, I don't know what you use these days, Michael, but maybe I don't want to say safe anymore. Maybe I want to say stable.
Everyone says accounting is stable, but stable is the lamest of the adjectives you could give a profession. You know what I mean? Lawyers and doctors are cooler. They got cool TV shows. They got cool movies. We got stable. Stable is he's pretty on the inside of professional adjectives. Right. And I just disagree. I mean,
we don't have successful or any of those fancy ones. I get it. Yeah.
Right. He's pretty on the inside of professions.
We're not wolves of Wall Street. We're not out there roughing it up in
right?
the big city. We're out in Long Island, you know?
We're not the Wolf of Wall Street. We're like the supporting cast of Wall Street. Like every great accounting scandal isn't even an accounting scandal. It's someone else's scandal, and we're in the background.
Oh, we're the puppies of Wall Street.
Right?
We're the stray dogs. We're not the stray dogs of Wall Street. I'll say that. Like
we can't even headline our own scandals. That's the point I'm making here.
It is kind of true. Like Enron and yeah.
Right?
Oh, I like where you're going with this. So you grow up, you don't do programming. Did you do the Lions Club?
My dad's not in Lions Club. I do Lions Club. My dad didn't.
Oh, your dad didn't. Okay. Did you do Cub Scouts?
I didn't. I didn't do any of those. Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts. I went to Hebrew school, like probably a large amount of our listeners did.
So Zachary's a pastor.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
He says it
I
with a
guess-
shrug.
It's different in my church because we're volunteers. So it's not like I'm a pastor and I get paid for it, or
Mm.
you
You do it for self-actualization. You do it for fulfillment. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of respect in that, more so than somebody who's forced to show up somewhere every day for this stable world. I'm kidding now. I don't want to keep digging into the accountants because we all are them.
we got to come up with a better adjective. That's the.
That's the point.
How did you get this title of cutest accountant?
Okay. So when I first started doing the whole LinkedIn thing, it felt like every accountant was the most interesting accountant, the accountant you got to know. And it's like, first off,
JJ the CPA, like
kind of.
you don't mess with JJ the CPA, and you don't drop name him on this podcast either without hoping that he comes on one day.
Everyone was the most interesting accountant, which just like isn't how the word most works. First off, you can't have like 20. There's only one. So I was just kind of like trying to make a joke of it. I was like, if they're going to be most interesting, I'll be LinkedIn's cutest.
I love it.
And it kind of stuck around. Some people don't like it. There are definitely a few haters, but like they don't have a sense of humor. That's on them.
So when these haters hate, what do? Send you a DM?
No, one accountant you could tell didn't like it. There's one guy from, I think, Australia who said my stickers were weird. And I was like, listen, all right, sorry you didn't get one. Like, I don't know. If shipping was cheaper to Australia, I would send one out of spite, but like, it's not worth it.
Well, so you wanted to do something a bit against the grain, a little funny.
Yeah.
I think you've achieved that. I think that's awesome. And now you've owned it. Not just I'm going to do something a little funny. Now you're owning the hell out of it. Like, this is when people hear LinkedIn's cutest accountant, they're only going to think of Mr. Eckstein, right?
Yes. You can Google LinkedIn's cutest accountant. I come up. Like, it's a full blown shtick now. There's no going back on it.
I've seen you refer to this as your personal brand. Can you care to elaborate?
I guess you could call it my personal brand. I wouldn't, because personal brand implies some intention. Someone thought about it. I
So,
didn't. It just
resting
happened.
business face, because that's a brand, right?
That is a little bit of a brand. Yes.
I mean, I feel like you're merging revamped business finances and
Yes,
resting
that's where the
business face. Like you take the acronym and made it a little bit funnier. And I've been known
That's
to
where
do
the
shit like
idea
that.
originally came from. That as I was kind of creating the revamp your business finances, I was looking for a better name, a cleverer name, and I landed on RBF. And I was just like, I feel like there's something there because it's perfect. Because like, I am not I don't want to say not the friendliest, although not the friendliest, right? Outgoing person. I've got a little bit of an
From Long
RBF.
Island.
Exactly. I was just born here. I can't help it. It's like I can't even move somewhere cheaper because they're polite everywhere else in the country, and I got to learn how to be kind.
You got to learn how to coexist with the fellow
Right.
Americans.
Yeah, I don't know. Just one day I had the moment. I was like, resting business face. That's genius. Is that domain still available? It is. It's mine. Yeah.
It's so cool.
The end goal is to rebrand everything under resting business face.
I didn't know what RBF meant. RBF meant it's resting bitch face. Isn't that
Yes.
what it really means?
Yes.
Zachary, did you know that acronym?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They used
So
it to
this is a
describe
play off of
somebody.
Yes. It is a more polite / not offending people version.
It's
More
on brand.
perfect.
So not the revamped business finances, but
Yes.
the resting business face and
Yes.
LinkedIn's cutest accountant are all part of that personal
Yes.
brand that you've got going on, and haters are gonna hate, right? You know,
They can if they want.
probably more people comment and like this stuff than hate on it, and I've
Definitely.
noticed that.
Definitely.
So
So you have 3,000 followers on LinkedIn.
I know. I'm practically a celebrity.
do you know 3,000 people?
No, not even in real life, like 10 max.
That's a fascinating thing about this world we live in, because those are all real people. That's for sure.
I was
Like-
thinking about that recently, and that's the absolutely crazy thing, especially when you look at bigger influencers that on LinkedIn have like 100,000 followers. There are 100,000 real life people reading their stuff.
Yeah.
What? It's crazy.
I mean,
So,
next time we have you on, you might have 10,000
Ooh,
LinkedIn
dreams.
followers.
what are the types of pieces of content that you put out there that people are drawn towards?
On LinkedIn,
Most views.
For-
How about that? Start with most views.
most views on LinkedIn would probably be offhand jokes
Okay.
that are like accounting related, which is weird. Accountants love accounting jokes they've never heard before, right? Or it's like weird accountant things. Like, for example, and this was a LinkedIn post that did very well. Before the pandemic, I went with some friends to like a small microbrewery. And I go in, and normal people are like, wow, I wonder what IPAs they have on tap. But me being an accountant, I'm just like, you think they could use QuickBooks to run this? Like, surely they must have some sort of integration. Like, you can't run a brewery on just QuickBooks. And this is where my head's at. And I feel like every accountant's been there. They've gone to a place and be like, I wonder what accounting software you need for this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm at parties or meeting new people and like they're a
Right.
business owner, like I'll ask them questions like that. They probably think I'm the weirdest person ever, but
But you know what?
to know.
Yeah, I do it too. I do it too. But it's just as much as people, when you tell somebody, Zachary, I'm sure when you tell me you're a CPA or Michael, if you tell people that you do taxes or anything, they immediately go to the most complex tax question they have never figured out. And then they ask you that at the middle of the party. So it's only appropriate that we,
Yeah. No, I'm very good at ignoring people having tax conversations in real life. Even if they have to outright ask me and I'm like, oh, ask me again when I'm sober. I don't know. Like,
I've politely tried to steer the conversation or pivot whenever that comes up, or I'll make a joke.
So here's a question, Michael.
Please.
Your LinkedIn presence, let's call it.
yes.
Does it lead to clients on your end?
Yeah.
Or does it lead to accountants just having fun?
A mixture. So I started, I guess, posting on LinkedIn a little bit earlier this year, like I want to say towards the end of tax season. And since I, predominantly tax, by the time I got semi-popular, famous, I'm just going to pretend I'm really famous for the rest of this.
Let's just say
By the
that. I
time I
mean,
got
you got a room full of 3,000 people here. Not as many
time I got-
listeners to our podcast. Definitely not 3,000 listeners on our podcast.
So yes, it has. It has brought in some business this year. I'm kind of waiting to see where this tax season goes because no one remembers they have to do taxes the rest of the year. As much as everyone wants to send in newsletters and post on LinkedIn and be like, don't forget tax planning. Everyone forgot tax planning because that's just how the clients are.
Everyone wants
right?
to be entertained.
Yeah.
I'm a little pivoting, but let's keep going with the tax talk.
Please.
Like,
Pivot.
do you do your own taxes?
I do my own taxes.
Scott, do you not do yours? Do you have Jason do yours or what?
I should. I don't do my own anymore.
I do some accountants' taxes. They're like controllers of companies and stuff. They don't know anything about taxes, and here I am.
You did tell me too. Do you have an email list as well?
I do. I have Resting Business Space, the email newsletter. Right.
It didn't have a name when we first spoke on this. It was just
It always had a name. It just sucked, so I didn't use it. Originally, the newsletter in the very beginning was called Ordinary and Necessary, which accountants would think is wonderful because that's a tax joke. But no one else thought that was wonderful. So that sucked.
I think it's hilarious.
Thank you. I felt really clever, but like a really nerdy CPA accountant kind of way, where I was like, the other math people will love this joke. Then for a while, just the best damn small business newsletter on the internet. And now it's just Resting Business Space. And it's a small newsletter. But I mean, I'm frankly like more proud of it than I am of my LinkedIn presence because that's where I say smart things. That's where I have a more loyal readership.
it's the evolution of your niche. You can lean into who you really are, maybe.
How many subscribers do you have on that?
Probably like a few hundred, 400 or 500, which is really nothing crazy. But like I have the same 100 to 200 people will open and read it every single week, which is kind of crazy to me because like 100 to 200 people are reading my ramblings on small business cash flow every week.
Yeah.
On just like whatever super niche topic. Like this last weekend, I wrote about how late fees don't fix cash flow problems, and 100 people were like, "Hell yeah, I want to read that article." You know,
Oh, we can talk about that actually. I made a
you want to
note
talk about
there.
cash flow?
Yeah. No, late fees. Like that's just not a that's not what's the phrase
It's
that
not
you're
an
supposed to
effective
use?
way to tackle cash flow problems. It's
Yeah.
a bandage on top of the problem. I wrote an entire email about this, so all the answers are on the top of my head, right?
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. So what's the issue with late fees?
The issue with late fees is they cover up legit cash flow problems. So, for example, if you're sending invoices that are incorrect, not timely, to the wrong person, late fees aren't going to fix any of that. People will put up with the friction because they don't want to get charged more.
I was
Right?
just thinking about this last night. Like somebody owed me money from a gambling debt, and I kept adding fees on top of it, and he still hasn't paid the fees. He paid the debt. He hadn't paid the fees.
And some people do that and they'll just call your bluff on it, you know?
He'll never pay the fees. I'm not going to send Tiny over to his house. I am half Italian too, so
So what was your recommendations to him? Make
My, my recommendation is it depends on what the underlying cash flow problem is. You know, maybe it's a problem on your end with your invoicing and you got to set your ego aside and realize it and fix it. On the other hand, sometimes clients, they're all over the place, they're forgetful, they're late, and they're so used to paying late fees that has nothing to do with your invoicing or the late fees. You've got to take it out of their hands and bill them ahead of time. Direct debit that.
yeah. So core problems, getting to the source of it.
it seems like it's the same people who are late all the time.
Yeah.
And so at some point, if they're too unbearable, it's just time to cut them loose, because every time, like if you go a year without getting paid and then you get their stuff, they've uploaded their tax information, you're working on their taxes, they pull up the billing system and still haven't paid you from last year. And this is like the 4th or 5th year in a row. And they're a pain in the butt. I'm just like, get out. Time to move on.
Definitely.
What happens when they immediately, you say that and then they pay you? Do you let the cycle repeat itself?
Well, depends on the client.
Yeah.
If
Depends
they
how
know how
much
to
you like
sweet
them.
talk you, yeah. Or it depends on how good looking they are. They know how to sweet talk. I'm like a cop. They know how to sweet talk me.
It also depends how much they're paying. You know, if it's a big enough check, even if it's late, I'll set my accounting standards aside for a second and be like, well, this is terrible internal controls, but fine.
Yeah.
You
So
can
I
pay me
honestly,
today.
yeah, I don't ever do it with the looks, honestly, but I do it with the money. Like your example was exactly what I do, and it's terrible. But it's the example that we set for our team too. Like we're gonna deal with this again this year. This same person, and I don't know what to say to that.
I mean,
It
I'm a
just depends.
solo, so I'm not letting down a team. I'm just letting down myself.
You got to sleep with yourself at night. you got
I
to.
sleep fine when the check's in the bank. I don't care.
There you go.
So that brings up an interesting question, because I was going to ask you how many people are on your team. You're just a solo guy.
Yeah.
Does that mean you do most everything yourself, or do you outsource anything?
Right now, I'm still doing everything myself in-house. Eventually, I'd like to start outsourcing some of the monthly bookkeeping and accounting work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because frankly, it's easier to outsource, in my opinion, than tax or higher level consulting. But for now, I kind of suffer through everything, which also changes how I look at like discovery calls and what services I want to offer. So like in a firm with a team that has, you know, bookkeepers, you can push the bookkeeping work because like you're not the one that has to suffer through it. For
Yep.
me, I'm just like, oh, how badly do I want to push this? I mean, I was like, they got a quote unquote bookkeeper. They're not doing a great job, but they're doing good enough. Do I want to get into this conversation? Because at the end of the day, if the sale goes great and I pick up the bookkeeping work, now I got to do it.
Somebody's got to do the work.
Right. And like
So
that's not fun.
So back to this Jewish Christmas. You're the ghost of my Christmas past. That
Damn.
used to be my life. I was looking back, and this could have been like this was me. Like I used to do everything at the firm. I had another guy that basically like he was on his way out. He was retiring. It's almost like your dad, but you guys operate separate. a little
Yes.
bit, is what you said. So he's on his way out, and I was doing everything, and I had a young family too. So speak on that. Do you have a family?
Like my own kids? No. Family in general? Like cousins? Yeah.
But that's another like reason why some people will take on, because they can and they're not letting anybody else down, right? Like, I'm worried who I'm going to let down. Am I going to let down my team, my family, myself? You just have to worry about letting yourself down too, doing this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Maybe the client. So like I don't take certain tax work I know I can't do because I don't want to let down the client and botch a tax return or watch them get audited,
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this? It was 10 years or something like that. Is that right?
like 8-ish,
8-ish.
a little over 8 years now. It's like a little.
Have you reached the point where you're finally not like taking everybody that walks through the door and you'll tell them you'll do a tax return at $200?
Yes. I do still need to bump my fees a little bit, but like I'm well past the taking every single weird return that you've got to take. So like no more trust in estates unless I already knew them ahead of time. Right? Like there were a client that needed a small estate or something. Hopefully no more sales tax ever again. That'd be nice. I hate sales
What
tax.
tax software do you use?
For income tax, Drake.
Okay. So you got like
Yeah.
1 or 2 1041s in there, or like different oddball returns, like.
Oh, yeah, you can do everything with it. I mean, that's the one perk. They don't like charge you per return once you're on the unlimited package. So it's like unlimited everything as opposed to like an ultra tax where you're like, all right, I bought the unlimited 1040s and now I got to pay like $80 to do a partnership.
Well, that was a mindset shift for me so we do have UltraTax, but it is technically unlimited. So we would take on these other one-off type returns because we could, but I don't know if does that change? You mentioned no more. You must have done some.
Yeah. I don't do them because I frankly don't see the volume and don't want to stay on top of them. To do a handful of trusts a year, is one thing, but to stay on top of all the education to make sure you're doing a good job and you're aware of all the situations. For the amount I was seeing, it wasn't worth it. So now I just don't take it.
So, Zachary, correct me if I'm wrong here, or Michael. So I feel like my firm has always more or less mirrored my mindset on a lot of things, or my age bracket, or my size of business. And we never did that many because now we don't have that many clients that need it, because we don't have too many older clients. We have a lot of younger professionals that are roughly, give or take my age, that are focused on building their business and all that. I think that you need an older CPA to do your trust and estate, right?
I think there's a lot of trust and estate work out there that is worthwhile, but I think accountants and CPAs and enrolled agents steer away from it sometimes because they're not charging enough for it. When you think about a 1041, it should be 3 times the amount that you charge for a 1040. And if they get in that mindset and they realize that, well, actually a 1041, the majority of the statements and schedules and everything else are actually 1040 statements. They're actually the same statements, but the front forms are a little different. Like Schedule D is the same. There's so many forms that are just exactly the same on 1041 as they are on 1040. I think at some point, I think people should look into it more. I think it's a niche that's underserved.
Yeah. Why do you think it's underserved?
I think it's underserved because people were charging the same amount as they're charging for a 1040, and they should be charging 3 times the amount. And there's still a lot of people that have these things. Every time somebody dies, it's, there's usually something. And then there's these family, trusts that are set up. I mean, we've got, just looking here, we do 129.
Wow.
At our firm.
Okay. Do you charge effectively 3 times more as much?
We're getting there. I mean,
Okay.
it's we're getting there. We're working on that. But going forward, if somebody came to me today, yeah, it'd be if our minimum for individual tax return is $400. A minimum for an estate should be $1,200.
Okay. So is that because the estate has more money to pay and you're not hitting up an individual that's still alive that could argue? Or
I think it's because like everything comes down to you have to know a lot about the estate and the trust to do it right. But you have to read the trust agreement. You have to understand the trust agreement. You have to understand what is allowed and what's not allowed. After you know that framework, then it's like, it's easy peasy. It's the same as all the other stuff.
I mean, that's my experience with trusts also. Like, there is a lot of learning. While forms may be similar, there's a lot of just unique nuances and differences that you have to learn. And I didn't feel like it. So I was just like, no trusts. I'll focus on small businesses.
but you're still somewhat of a generalist.
I'm
when it
trying
comes
not
to
to be.
the
And
okay.
Michael has to pick and choose what he's doing very carefully because he's a one-man show.
Mm.
And maybe there's reasons why you might forever be a one-man show. Like I have CPA friends who are one-man shows, and they do not want an employee or a partner or anything of the sort. They have no desire. And so they have to be very careful about what they do because they can't do everything. It's just impossible. But when I have a trust question, I can go to my dad, who he loves trust, and I can get it answered relatively easily.
Yeah. I mean, I think having a resource like that really helps, especially in any of the kind of tax niches, and trusts are an underserved niche. And if you're like really into them and you're really good at them, there's an opportunity to just like network with a lot of estate attorneys because they're always looking for an accountant that knows about it. And even like I'll outright say I don't really do trusts, and estate attorneys will still like casually be like, so how is a living estate tax? I'm like, I wouldn't know. I just told you I don't touch the topic. You're gonna have to find someone that does. Like,
I like you pulled in the voice too. You're like, so
right? 'Cause that's how it always goes.
it is. It is. They get really sly. They side eye you.
Yeah.
So you got to balance a lot here, right? Like you got to have a routine almost if you're going to send a weekly newsletter, right? You got to be organized. What do you use for your organization? I mean, you may not use practice management software, but you've got to use some form of.
Oh, for like my work or for my content?
I think both. Yeah. I mean, I would assume that it's the same, but maybe not.
No. So I guess I'll start with work and then go into content. With work outside of tax season, it's the same handful of bigger business clients that have the recurring either bookkeeping, sales tax, or gotta stay on top of them, make sure they're still doing their payroll kind of things. So it's just a kind of recurring to-do list, right? It's like this month is sales tax month. Let's go through our list of sales tax clients, right? That kind of thing. Or it's the first time to start doing accounting again, right?
Do you have worksheets or Excel sheets that you kind of keep up with?
Yes.
You
During
used to have
tax
that.
season, there's a more legit process, so I can see a full list of everyone that's like an open file that's on deck, everyone that hasn't responded to my, hey, it's tax season email, right? Just to keep everything organized during tax season, right? But for content, there is no real system. For LinkedIn posts, I just, whenever I have an idea, I jot it down. I've got like a notes file, a Google Keep with tons of ideas. And
So
then,
you are the hyperactive hive mind in this scenario for yourself.
yes,
You basically are just think and do, and
yeah,
nothing. Okay. This is
yes. I try and have more
There's
processes with client work because, like, if I post something on LinkedIn and goes wrong, no one gets audited. It's just like, wow, that sucked. So client work, there's more process to it. Don't want it to seem like I'm just like totally out there willy nilly slapping numbers into tax returns. No, there's a process.
the Notion is something that I've been exploring. I know Zachary has started using it or has been using it. That might I suggest to you that might be a good platform to start organizing things. It might be something to use for your, solopreneur and other things, ideas and lists. And Zachary, what do you use it for, practically speaking?
Notion primarily right now is just like ideas or note taking.
Repository.
Yeah, it's more of that. I want to actually use it to replace Asana for recurring task and stuff, but it's a little complicated to do that. And so I've been so far opposed to it.
I think you might eventually see some templates that people will sell. Like I've seen this for Asana. I've seen other platforms like where somebody else is doing it. It's a good system. They create a template, they sell it. I don't know if that happened with Notion yet, but
It might have. I mean, I'm always open to a very nice workflow template. Send it to me.
you'll try it out for a little while and then give up on it.
Maybe. I mean, have you ever seen that you'll find the templates online, workflow templates, and they're like, here's a repository of all the templates you need for an accounting workflow. And then you open one and it's the most bare bones workflow process you've ever seen in your life. And they're for like individual income tax. It'll be like, get documents, prepare a tax return, file it. And you're like, that's not a workflow process. I gotta have a little more. Or bookkeeping, it's like update accounts in Xero, click reconcile, send P&L. It's like, I could have written that. I was hoping you had something really in depth for me.
Zachary's actually signing tax returns right now. Like
Yeah,
so if it just
right.
came in, he had to sign a few things. I saw your arm kind of moving. Things just come up, right? Zachary, you're one to actually answer phone calls too. And actually you said your clients interact with you and they enjoy that they could pick up the phone and reach you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually the biggest complaint I get from people coming over to me is that they can't get a hold of their accountant or their CPA.
Yep.
And so I do try to be available for people and answer the phone. But as you get more and more clients, it does become overwhelming and you can get busy. And I mean, I used to be able to take off the week after Christmas, I would take off for vacation every single year. And the last couple of years, I just haven't been able to do that. I've got way too many things for year end to do. And so it kind of does get a little complicated over time and as you get busier.
Yeah. I'm the same with my clients. Like if they want to call me, if I don't pick it up, I'll return it by end of day. Because like it's the same complaint I hear all the time too, where they try and get in contact with their accountant and they just like never return the call or the email ever.
That's the number one reason why people disconnect from accountants, because this is a relationship. They're paying us for the relationship to be able to ask those questions, to be able for somebody to be available. And then when they get let down from that, it's like, well, what else is there? They're not just filling in my forms.
Unless you're like a bargain preparer and like that's what they're hiring you for, just to fill out the forms.
That's competing on price too. That the bargain was the key word,
Yeah. But
they're going to pay the big bucks. We're going to pay when you're going to raise your prices. The ones that stay are the ones that have a relationship with you.
Yep.
And Scott's firm is the big bucks. Okay.
He makes fun of me. Not that expensive, really. Like I've been talking like that. I talk a big game.
I give
We just hit a milestone today.
I wish I was the same way.
We hit a milestone
I
today.
think I should charge more after this call. Is that my takeaway?
Pretty much every time you have any conversation, you should take away, you need to raise prices.
Any conversation with me, I mean, that's honestly, that's the way you manage your workflow too. That's the way you manage your client list, is by raising prices, letting some fall off. But at the end, you're making more and you're able to serve the ones that you have better.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to give them a higher level of attention. Our attentions tend to stray when we have a lot of people vying at it, and the ones that aren't paying enough don't deserve it. All of our times are valuable. And look at us just putting around on a podcast, right? I think that the market kind of dictates to a degree the prices that some people are willing to pay, but you dictate the prices that you'd be willing to charge. And there always is somebody that's going to pay that.
Yeah. Especially if you have a good reputation or it's in a particular niche that you're like very good at, very educated in,
Are there particular niches that you go after, Michael?
Anything without inventory or depreciation.
A lot of professional services.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I mean, it's not that I hate those industries like e-commerce, retail, all those things. It's just that it is a lot of work, right? Especially if you take over the monthly accounting for them. And frankly, I'd rather push more to consulting and advising than be, I guess, trying to figure out my fixed asset manager for the millionth time, you know?
What tools are you using right now? What are your favorite tools for accounting and tax? Are you a Zero guy? Are you a QuickBooks guy?
I'm a Zero person. I mean, I use both to a certain extent. As much as I would love to sit here and say I push every client onto Zero, the reality is a lot of them, like QuickBooks, I'm still familiar with it and I'll still use it, and think at the end of the day, they're both accounting softwares. They both have their pluses and minuses, pros and cons. No one is
one is blue and one is green.
right. Neither one is absolutely better than the other one, right? I'm biased towards Zero, but if a client wants to use QuickBooks, so be it.
So I'd be interested to hear why Zero.
Why don't we talk about why did you start using Zero?
They have a level of service for partners that's superior to any other GL product. And what I mean is they care about the partner. They care about the user and the accounting firm.
They're focused on the advisor. They did some study that said if you have an advisor, you're like 5 times more likely to stay in business compared to if you don't have an advisor.
They give us 2 layers of people that we have access to, direct access to. And they can connect you with anybody you need there. The partner program, the incentives that they have, you can get reimbursed for co-branded marketing. Like that was unheard of, the $2,000 reimbursement. They have that. They have the discounts on their subscriptions for partners. Zero's been very consistent. They have special partner versions designed only for partners. And that's different. That's
well,
unique.
and I think their other main thing for me is their platform is designed to work with other software. Zero tries to focus on what they're good at, which is the main general ledger, and then let other people focus on what they're good at.
So Zero plays nice with others, right? And it's designed to be part of a bigger ecosystem for your firm, and not the be-all end-all of everything, and then close door and close things off to others. Yeah.
So that's enough reason to use Zero. So why don't you go to Zero.com, sign up as a partner. So if you go to the top, it says for accounts and bookkeepers, you sign yourself up as a partner. You get free version of Zero for your firm. Go to Zero.com.
Check them out.
Just do it.
And throw your hands in the air and yell Sons of CPAs with an S.
Just say Sons of CPAs out loud and something good will happen to you. It's like
it'll be magic. Yeah, it'll be magic. We don't know what it's going to be, but poof.
Everyone, go to Zero.com. Don't just take our word for it.
I think the layout is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more straightforward than QuickBooks. I mean, I think as QuickBooks kind of grew, it became slightly bloated. The one thing I always hate with QuickBooks is, for whatever reason, sometimes when you click the back button, it just takes you to some random page you never wanted to go to. You'll be like reconciling, you'll hit back, and they're like, how's the chart of accounts? And you're just like, that's not.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree with you. I hate that about QuickBooks, and I don't like that you can open up a new window.
I still touch QuickBooks. I mean, I do a lot of taxes, and those people use all sorts of things, but anything in-house is Zero.
I think the downside to being a Zero person is you have to put up with QuickBooks. But if you're a QuickBooks person, I've heard this a lot. People have found us through Zero's directory because their person won't work with Zero. And people have the ability to do that when they're QuickBooks people.
Yep.
I can't just say no to everybody on QuickBooks if they don't want to move to Zero, because first, they're going to resent me for doing it. It's not their choice. So they're going to say, you put me on this. Now I want to go back to QuickBooks, like.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem. Have you guys ever had people with accountants who didn't work with Zero, and then you take it over and you get their Zero file and it's a complete disaster?
Oh, absolutely.
I had one accountant that, you know how making journal entries, you can't make journal entries to bank accounts in Zeros directly from the journal entries.
I love that you can't do that, but accountants don't like that, right?
Accountants don't like that. And so this accountant was trying to resolve that. And he created all of these Contra accounts. And there was like 13 Contra accounts. And he was doing his journal entries to the Contra accounts. And oh my goodness.
He's just creating a web of nightmares that he has to deal with. He's probably creating duplicate ones too. Oh no, that's terrible.
That was hilarious.
These are all kind of good points. I've always thought zero is like the counterculture too. Like,
In the US, at
the
least.
cool kids, the cool kids are going to use zero. The ones in the back corner that know something about software or that know a little bit more, we're the edge of the change curve, right? I don't know if that's really the case. That's just what I like to say.
Well, you use this, Scott. You're pretty cool.
Thanks. Well, I think we all use it. So that says something about us if that's what we choose to believe.
Yeah.
It's all about beliefs. And back to Christmas. If you choose to believe, I have to tell this to my son.
Mhm.
He wants gifts for Christmas. He better choose to believe because I'm not getting them, buddy. That's what I tell him. That's the big man. That's his job. 5 more sleeps till Christmas. Jimmy Fallon wrote a little book. And today is literally 5 more sleeps till Christmas.
Huh.
It's 5 more days. Jimmy Fallon's title of his book is 5 more sleeps till Christmas. I love it.
You celebrate Christmas in your home, Scott?
We do. We had a Hanukkah thing like that they did, but we don't really truly celebrate like you're supposed to. Now, Christmas, we do surface level too. We have the lights up. I spent 5 hours outside getting the lights all right and everything. And we did our tree because that's the spirit. That's Christmas. I'm not religious, but we do Christmas morning. I did my whole life growing up. We never really did. We always did both for the presents, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you could agree with that, Michael. Did you ever do both for the presents?
We never did Christmas at all. That's how being Jewish works.
When you're half Jewish, you get the benefits of both.
I will mention that to my parents and see if we can make that happen.
Why don't you mention it to your future wife or your unborn child?
I'll keep it in mind. Tactically date. Can't marry a Jew now. Gotta marry a Christian so we can have more presents for my children.
Your kids will appreciate it. They can thank me later.
Oh,
Thank me later. I'm an influencer here. I'm
Michael, you marry
half
whoever
of an
you want to
influencer.
marry. Okay.
I'm half an influencer, right? I have half of your followers, I think. So I'm half Jewish and half an influencer. If you're
I
an
don't know if-
influencer.
I don't know if I am an influencer. I just say I am because it bugs some people when I say it.
You're on your way.
I think 3,000's a lot of people.
We're going to see me on the speaking circuit. I'm going to go do Scaling New Heights, QB Connect.
Who's your
That's-
favorite accounting influencer, Michael?
Influencer? I don't know.
Who's your favorite
They're all-
accountant?
They're all okay, I guess. My favorite accountant, I'm going to say my dad because I feel like that's the answer I'm supposed to give. My favorite accountant are all of our CPA dads, right?
So even my dad's not a CPA anymore. He was. I think it still counts. I'm the son of a CPA still, but it's like half. I'm
Was
half
he
son of a CPA.
when you were born? Then we'll count it.
Yes, he was.
And okay, we're
We will
counting it.
count. Okay. Check the box.
Right. Those are my favorites. I don't know. Am I supposed to be looking up to other accountants? Because
That's
Not
a good
necessarily.
question. I mean, some people say who inspires them to do more of what they do, and to a degree, I think that you probably pay attention to others, right?
I guess yes.
Who do you pay attention to? Not who you look up to. Who do you pay attention to?
I like Greg Crabtree's book, Simple Profits, or something like that.
Greg Krebs.
Good book. And there's a handful of tax people. I forget his name, but the guy that writes for tax things over at Cutest, he always has very good blogs.
Over where?
Cutest. It's Michael Cutest. It's all about financial advising. And I cannot remember the guy's name that writes the tax stuff. This is so bad.
Jeffrey Levine.
Right?
Cool. All right. What's the next step in your? First, we'll ask firm. What's the next step? What are the things that you want to change in your firm, or the things that you anticipate changing in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years?
Yeah.
All right. 5 years is a long time frame. I can actually do things in that. I would like to be mainly consulting based. It's the part of the job I really like. I take the tax and compliance work because, it's stable. It pays bills, right? Every accountant that really does advising work has always said, you can't really do advising without clean books. You can't really do clean books unless they're in-house. So that's why every advisory accountant still does books, right?
Mhm.
So within 5 years, I'd like to be mainly advisory based. That's why the majority of the stuff I talk about isn't really tax or monthly accounting type stuff or compliance. It's cash flow, profit, stuff like that.
That's the important things. That's where we need humans to do that. So,
Mm.
do you see yourself eventually having employees to do the book? You're going to have to take it on, but I don't
Yeah.
think you're going to be able to do it effectively if you're also consulting. I think you want to be able to manage from a piece of paper and not diving inside the books, so to speak.
Yeah, that's the 5-year dream. Bookkeepers that do it.
Okay. Outsourced or maybe your own team.
It depends. If it's outsourced, it'd be outsourced to like another legit bookkeeping firm or accounting firm that specializes in it. Because not that there's anything wrong with outsourcing or offshoring it, but it's like if I'm offshoring and outsourcing like that, I still got to manage them. So at that point, I might as well just hire.
Yeah, you pay a little bit of a premium to fully take it off of your plate, to not have to manage
Yeah.
processes, not have to manage how everything works. It's just, here you go. How much do I
Yeah.
owe you? How much should I charge my clients?
Exactly. So if I'm outsourcing it, I'm outsourcing, paying the premium, being like, this is your problem. You chase the documents. I'm not chasing the bank statements. Oh, the bank feed broke because they changed their password and now I have to sit on top of them for the next 2 weeks. Right.
Well, you could find local firms that are already doing that don't want to do the consulting, right?
That would be interesting. And it's a thought I've had. But the problem with accounting is that unless you really, really know the other accountant, can you trust they won't take the rest of your work? So if I was that other firm and I know there's like, I could come in and be like, oh, I'll
Do you
only
have
do
trust
consulting.
issues, Michael?
Yes, I'm an accountant. We all have trust issues.
I think so. I don't anymore. Like, I honestly just trust
Anymore.
everybody, and
I
I
don't trust
willed
anything.
myself. Yeah.
I don't trust a single thing. People give me financials and it's immediately like, this is clearly wrong because I didn't put it together. Where is it wrong?
A lot of accountants are like that. Ackerman's for damn sure like that. Like, he doesn't think anybody could do a tax return if it wasn't him or his team.
No, I'm sure some people do a great job, but like,
So for the future of your influence, right?
yes.
So in 5 years, could you put a number on how many subscribers to your newsletter? Are you going to still do it in 5 years?
Considering it's the core of my marketing plan, I guess I'd have to. But every single week, I'm like, what the hell am I going to write about this week? How many times can you write about cash flow? Right? Every week's got to be a unique idea. But
So that's why you need Notion. You need Notion to capture a repository of your ideas and then pick a roulette wheel every week.
I have a list of ideas. The problem is I have to like it enough to sit down and write it. So you look at it and you're like,
Inspired.
wow, when I wrote that down, such a good idea. Now, not feeling it at all.
Do you smoke weed?
As a non-attorney, I advise you not to answer that question on the air.
Do not answer that question on the air. You live in a state that is criminally outlawed unless you have a prescription in New York.
I think it's legal in New York now,
I think it is, Zachary.
which would be an interesting niche to specialize in cannabis businesses, but I don't feel like relearning taxes to deal with whatever it is.
I think that's
Ye-
turned into our niche of this podcast. I think I'm going to change the cover to like a stoner's edge to see if that works. I don't think it's going to work with accountants though. Like, I don't think accountants are going to appreciate leaning in. I'm not going to lean in, but we casually mention
Accountants don't do drugs. We just have alcoholism problems. No, that's a bad joke.
alcohol is a
God damn it.
drug. I mean, it's not our problems. I think accountants do prefer alcohol in social gatherings. I usually don't drink. I'm usually getting a little high. Not crazy, but it's a social high for me. And I drink water. Zachary doesn't drink. I mean, speaking on alcohol,
I
don't.
I drink Diet Coke.
You drink Diet
Ooh.
Coke, and that's a drug to me.
We
That-
are
It's got caffeine.
straight up living up to stereotypes right here. One guy's like, I drink water. Another's like, I drink Diet Coke. We are just party animals. We're just like the
We
wildest.
are.
We're stable.
If I do drink, it's either now it's kombucha. The This
I'm gonna say
seltzer.
kombucha is juice for stoners. Of course, you drink kombucha.
Yeah. I drink the seltzer the White Claws. I definitely drink a White Claw. I can see myself tap dancing with a White Claw one day. That would be fun. I like the women drinks.
Well,
Oh.
it's better than the toddler drinks, I guess. You're not into the apple juices, the box.
Too much sugar in juices.
Mm.
So you never gave us an answer. How many subscribers do you think you would have
Ooh.
in 5 years? Or what's your target?
On the newsletter,
You got to have
I
a
like
target.
that. For the newsletter, I would hope to have more than 3,000-ish. You
Okay.
know, I'm not with the
So your
newsletter. I'm trying to
newsletter
go-
has to grow to your LinkedIn. So your LinkedIn becomes, what's the multiple? If you're about, let's say, so you're 30,000 LinkedIn people to,
Oh, that'd
and
be
that's
cool.
doable. That's like, we just
That's
had,
doable.
we had somebody on that had 28,000, I think. And his name was Michael Kravchik. So you can aspire one day to have 30,000 LinkedIn and
Yeah.
3,000. All these things just happen as you stay consistent too. Like you can't just fall
Yes.
off and then rest your resting business face. Your resting business face
Yes.
has to actively be resting.
Yes, exactly.
Does that make
And
sense?
that's why I don't give up on the newsletter, because I'm just like, oh, I've put in so much work. If I give up now, it's done. I got to keep it going. I need to get myself some sponsors.
Yeah.
That's what I want
So
to be.
I can,
want
I
to
can
be.
help. I can help you with that. I'm going to start another business of finding sponsors.
I want to be a brand like evangelist. That's going to be it. You know,
You
there's
can
like
do that.
five. There's like 5 accounting influencers to pick from. 10, if you
So-
really want to reach. I'm open.
Reach.
I can
That's
be
our
bought.
first. Our Reach. That was our first sponsor. Reach Reporting.
Oh yeah.
You just said it. Like that's you
I
basically
didn't
laid
mean-
it, teed it up for me. You teed it up. That was our first sponsor. I kind of want to have you back on with Ackerman
Please.
because that would be. I feel like we're all like very low key today. Michael, I have some notes for you.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm ready for my feedback review after this. My exit interview.
Put your resting business face on, and we will have a chat. Where can people find you? I mean, are you on LinkedIn?
Me? No, only Instagram. No. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Michael Eckstein. You can search it
Follow him.
or Google LinkedIn's Cutest Accountant and it comes up, right?
How do you follow somebody on LinkedIn? I honestly don't think I'm following you, Michael, because I'm just connected to you. Does that count? Does a connection also add a follower?
I think a connection will automatically add you as a follower unless you unfollow them specifically, which I've
Interesting.
totally done. I've totally connected with someone and then unfollowed them because I realized I hate their posts.
Are you too judgmental?
Oh, way too judgmental. Where do you think resting business came from? Because like I'm a pleasant person who's just like is really lovey and squishy. No, I'm from New York and just deeply judgmental. Deeply judgmental.
Oh man.
I will 100% find another account, especially on S Corp reasonable compensation. I will totally fight someone.
Oh,
Been a topic. That's a topic I love.
I will
reasonable
fight
comp.
someone on that.
What is your take on that?
My take is that a lot of people are way too aggressive with the definition of reasonable compensation and are very comfortable advising people to take reasonable compensations that are either outright lost in tax court or under their state's minimum wage or like just don't make sense if you even perused the IRS website. Like I'm reasonable people.
I'm with you 100% on this one. And it drives
1,000%.
me crazy because I get people that'll come over, they're looking for a new accountant for X, Y, and Z reason. And I'll talk about, we need to up your salary. You're paying $25,000 a year as a reasonable salary, and you've got 300 grand of net income. So we probably need to be up in the $140,000 range. I would bet in most cases, unless it's like really mature business that they don't spend a lot of time in or something.
Well, they're doing themselves a disservice too. Whenever
Right.
they actually need something, they're not gonna be able to get a mortgage. They're not gonna be able to get any kind of lending. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like there's
They can still get, so they can get some lending. It's probably okay, but I tell them, it's going to cost them 10, 15 grand a year more, just in payroll taxes that they haven't been paying. And they're not too happy about that, but somebody's got to tell them.
Yep. I have that same conversation all the time or S corps will come out. I'll be like, you should be paying payroll to begin with.
Yeah.
The first time I've ever heard of it. Here it's like, oh, bud, who set you up with an S corp? I feel bad. You
You're
know,
gonna Schedule C slam. That's what I call it.
Right.
I take out their reasonable compensation, what I think it should be, and I slam it onto the Schedule C, and then put it in as reasonable compensation on the S corp.
So there is a place to do
So
that.
They pay the self-employment tax. This is not tax advice to whoever's listening.
I mean, it's not the way to do
This
it.
is not
It
the
will.
way to do it.
It
So
will help
there
prevent them
is a-
getting slam dunked during an audit, but it's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
So, well, no. There is a way to do that though, with the K1 to actually pull money in to say this is taxed as SE income because they
No,
didn't take a salary.
S corp K1.
Really? I thought this was something new within the last like 3 or 4 years.
Don't think so.
I have to. I'm not going to even speak on something I don't know, but I thought that there was something along those lines.
That could be guaranteed
Well,
payments in partnership K1.
I do think we got to call it. As much as I want to talk about S corp compensation because that's actually a good topic because the IRS is being funded as we speak, and this is a big initiative for them. So I feel like that's
It's also a very easy thing for them to catch.
oh hell yeah.
It's like, you know, like their computers are bad.
You
but,
guys
like,
know that
not
there is
so bad that they can't hit everyone with a reasonable comp between $0 and $30,000 with a letter. You know, like
Did you hear of the new part of the form where you have to put the distributions now on the individual return? Yeah. No, on the individual return, you have to, is it on the S corp return or on the individual? Did you have to put
I think
the amount of
you had
distributions?
to on the S corp return, but no one did.
So
this is going to be one of those.
Last year they changed it so you had to report basis distributions and things like that. But it was up to you to report it however you want to the IRS. And so each tax software came up with their own thing and their own way of dealing with it and put it on to the tax return. And the IRS was not satisfied. And so they've come out with their own form. And so you're going to be filling out your own form this year, 2021 tax year. And it also asks, are there any loans to the shareholder from the S corp? And
Okay.
are they written down? Are they actual loan terms or are they an open-ended loan?
Are they bona fide loans or are they loans? Someone unfriended me on LinkedIn over that, right? They said that they gave themselves a loan from the LLC. And I was like, well, if there's no documentation, it's just a planned repayment schedule, not a loan. And they didn't like that.
I love how you just said someone unfriended. So we've been talking about followers and we're talking about connections. I didn't know they were friends too.
No, technically it's a connection. They unconnected from me, but I was just like, listen, that's the hard truth. All right. I try not to flex my tax knowledge here, but if you want to try and bring it up, then we're going to bring it up. And you're wrong. It wasn't a loan. All right.
You're going to get Schedule C slammed by Zachary.
You know, that's another thing I'll fight an accountant on. I think all shareholder loans should be bona fide loans with notes and interest. And if you don't have it, it's the client's problem. I'm sorry you got to pay capital gains because you can't manage your finances. That's a you problem.
Mhm.
All right. Not a me
So,
problem.
what's the goal? What's the hair length goal?
The hair length goal is that I should get a haircut, but didn't.
Okay.
Was that not the answer you wanted?
No, I'm growing my hair. That's why I said it. My head's in a hat right now, but I'm growing it longer. My wife said I could pull off the Jewish look. Shitzel. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
It's a show on Netflix.
Okay.
But they grow, they have the curly long ones in the front. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
they cut
base.
those if they cheat on their wife or they do something bad
Really?
against the tribe. I thought you would know this.
I'm just Jewish. I don't have it like I don't watch all the Jewish TV shows.
No, but it's a
Study all the
cultural thing.
laws.
It is a cultural
I'm
thing,
either
too.
studying tax laws or Jewish laws. You've got to pick one. I don't got time for both.
That is one of the Jewish laws. So the Diamond District, you got all the guys walking around with the curlies. Like, what do they call that? What's the
Payas.
what is it?
Payas. Am I
Pay-
totally butchering that? Am I going to go to Jewish hell now?
I don't know. I don't know what it's called. You might be right. So there's no Jewish hell, is there?
Pay it.
No, no. I just say Jewish hell. There is no Jewish hell.
No, Jews don't believe in hell at all. They're actually more similar.
Is that why we're so hedonistic?
No,
I don't know.
it's one of the things I admire a lot. We
find ways to be good with
it says
I'll get on a whole religious rant. My religious rant: Jews figured out how to make drinking a good deed, and we don't have hell. And then everyone else screwed that up from there.
Well,
Why would
Mormons,
you take a religion
Zachary's
that
a
doesn't
Mormon.
have hell and add hell? Why would you add hell?
They add hell and they take away drinking in the Mormon country, right? I'm not judging.
We don't believe in hell like most Christendom.
My understanding, and this is totally wrong, of Mormon hell, only Mormons can go to Mormon hell. So not only do they have hell, but only for themselves.
It's even worse than that. It's like our belief of hell, like the person who would go to hell would be so hard to get into hell that it was nearly impossible. Meaning,
So
effectively, you do not believe in hell.
You know where else it's nearly impossible to get into hell? Jewish hell. You just don't have it.
so where do we go? Purgatory? What happens when we die? More food?
You asking me or you asking Mike?
I don't know. Like that's the question to end this with. So the title of this episode, I think I'm going to call LinkedIn's Cutest Accountant, because you said if you Google that, it just works. But I want to
do that.
Resting business space.
I would like Michael makes a mockery of another podcast. I think that'd be fun.
Some things just stick and roll with it.
Yep.
Ordinary and necessary.
Yeah. The takeaway is live your dreams. Don't commit tax fraud. Have a good Christmas.
I think
that's
Merry
and
Christmas.
late fees don't fix it.
Late fees don't fix cash flow. And I will fight another accountant on that. All right.
That's the title of this one. I will fight another accountant. So if you're still listening at this point, please follow Zachary Call on LinkedIn. Please
we need to
Google.
see how many people are actually listening.
We can Google LinkedIn's Cutest Accountant.
Yep.
And you can go on to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to hear more.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.